welcome to 3-2. This is day 2 of solving systems of equations without graphing. And what again I love about this is I don't have to rearrange equations. I don't have to put them on graphs. I'm going to get accurate solutions every single time. I again am going to do the same thing I did yesterday. I'm going to show you one example and then leave one for you to do on your own. Again, this is something you did in Algebra 1, but we do understand that it is a couple of years ago, and so we're okay with reviewing. The biggest part about this section, though, is figuring out the first step, okay? And that's what we're going to spend the majority of the time in class tomorrow looking at. If I look at the first equation, the first example, what you'll notice is there's no single x. I have a 2x, I have a 5y, a 4x, and a 2y. So there's no single variable that would say to me, oh, solve for that variable and use substitution. Okay, so here's our goal. As I look through, when you go through and solve, what I want you to do is get opposite coefficients. Now, coefficients, if you remember, are the numbers in front of a variable. Wow, that handwriting is bad. I apologize. Let me try that again. So we're going to go for opposite coefficients. That means I need a positive x and a negative x. Okay, coefficients. So you want a positive and a negative is basically the idea. Now you can use x or y. It really won't matter. But as you're going through, you need to have opposites. Now, if possible, I want to multiply one equation. Sometimes we're going to have to multiply both. So here's what I'm going to do. Take a look at the first example. And I like to do the x's personally. I have a 2x and a 4x. And the question is, can you take one of those x's and multiply by a number to get the other one? Well, if I look, I know that 2 times 2 makes 4. Well, if I multiply this equation by 2, then I get 4 and 4. That means they're both positive. But I want one of them to be negative. So instead of multiplying by a positive 2, I'm going to multiply by a negative 2. And what I do is I basically take each number by negative 2. So 2 times negative 2 is negative 4x. 5 times negative 2 is negative 10y. Equals 14 times negative 2 is negative 28. And basically now what you've seen is I have a positive 4x and a negative 4x. And when I have the opposites, my method, and this is just me, is to circle my opposites. Because here's what's going to happen. I'm going to add these two down, and 4 plus negative 4 is 0, and so I can cross them out. So I add down again. 2 plus negative 10 is negative 8y equals negative 4 plus negative 28 is negative 32. So I can now solve this equation. I divide each side by negative 8, and I get that y is, well, negative 32 divided by negative 8 is a positive 4. Again, the goal of this is to get the point where the two equations intersect. So I know my solution is going to be a point, and I know that y value is going to be 4. Now the question is, well, how do you find the x value? I'm going to pick one of the equations to solve. In this case, I'm going to go back to the one I didn't change, the 4x plus 2y equals negative 4, plus its smaller numbers. Now, it won't matter. You'll get the same answer either way. But if I do this, I know I'm trying to find x. So 4x plus 2, and my y value was 4. So 2 times 4 equals negative 4. All right, well, let's rewrite this a second. 4x plus 8 equals negative 4. So I start solving. I subtract 8. 4x equals negative 12. And I divide by 4, and then I get x is negative 3. So my solution is negative 3, 4. So the point where they intersect is because they intersect at one point, if we label our system, this is consistent, and because it only has one solution, independent. Okay, consistent and independent. And I apologize for the handwriting. Today the pen and my board are not working well. Okay, but this is the general idea. You're going to walk through getting the coefficients to be opposites, and then we're going to add them together. Now, we've talked about this yesterday and the day before. We need to look at story problems and how this relates to real life. So let's take a look. At a pizza restaurant, it costs $4 to make a small pizza, and it sells for $12. Now here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to underline a few things. It's $4 to make, but we're also talking about selling, so I'm going to double underline that. It sells for $12, because that's two different things, what it costs to make and what it costs to sell. Same thing for large pizzas. It costs $6 to make, so let's keep that underlined only once because we're talking about making. And it sells for $15. Now I'm going to underline that twice because here's another thing it's talking about selling. In 1 week, a restaurant spent a total making pizzas of $1,100 and sold them, we're talking about selling, for $2,910. So I'm going to double underline that. Okay, so you can kind of see as I'm going through that there are 3 numbers to use in one equation and 3 numbers to use in a second equation. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to call the small ones x, and I'm going to call the large ones y. Now, you could use s and l if you want. I just like to stick with the x and y. So let's write our 2 equations. I know that making, let's do the making one first. It costs $4 to make a small, plus it costs $6 to make a large, equals, how much did it cost to make? $1,100. Okay, second equation is what it costs to sell. So a small pizza is $12 to sell, plus a large pizza is $15 to sell, equals the total cost to sell was $2,910. Now, if you look at my equation, the question is, can I make coefficients to be opposite? Well, I start with the x's first. Can I multiply 4 times something to get not 12, but negative 12? So can 4 times something equal negative 12? Absolutely. I can take this and I can multiply by negative 3, and that's going to get me negative 12. So, with our calculators, 4 times negative 3 is negative 12x. 6 times negative 3 is negative 18y. And 1,100 times negative 3 is negative 3,300. Now you'll notice I have a positive 12 and a negative 12. So I'm going to circle them because those are my opposites. If I add these together, 12 and negative 12 cancel. 15 plus negative 18 is negative 3y. 2910 plus negative 3,300 is negative 390. And if I go to solve, I divide by negative 3, and I get that y is 130. Now, the question is that what my answer was asking for? Well, no, because they asked how many small pizzas were sold. So they want to know how many x's did we have. Well, I found the y's, so now I need to go back and find the x. I'm going to use the smaller equation, so I'm going to say 4x plus 6 times my y was 130 equals 1,100. and I'm going to solve this. Well, 6 times 130 is 780. So I'm going to subtract 780. 4x equals 1100 minus 780 is 320. And if I divide by 4, x equals 80. Now, in terms of this, though, we are dealing with a story problem, which means we need a story answer. So we're going to say they sold 80 small pizzas. Okay, so this is our final answer. And again, if you start with a story problem, you want to end with a story answer. Okay, now if I just asked you for the intersection, you would tell me the point 80, 130. But I'm not asking for the intersection point, I'm actually asking for a real life answer. How many small pizzas? Okay, so this is the idea. We want you to try and set up your own. The one hint I'm going to give you is that you have 3 things with money, and money always goes together in one equation. So just keep that in mind. That will be one equation. It's your second equation that you might have a little difficulty with, but please feel free to look at your book for extra hints along the way. So that's it for section 13.2. We will do more of this in class and really do a lot of practice questions, but thank you for watching.